Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Saturday, the day before our season gets underway, and we're going to introduce a new series on the channel. And what this means in a nutshell is we're going to get live streams pretty much every day. And this Pies Presser, which is the new show that we're all tuning into right now, will be in the madness between the pre-game and post-game show. Between, uh, is there anything else? The Pies Footy show, right? So, what does it entail? What are you expecting to see in these shows? Well, news, breaking news, all Collingwood related. That will segue into opinions and conversations. So, stick around for all of that. And I've got a juicy one for you. One day out before the season starts, and don't get your wires crossed. A lot of these are very intriguing. So, hear me out and we're just going to get right into it and let's have discussions. I want plenty of engagement. I want to get your thoughts on some of these prospects. Let's start with none other than probably why you clicked on this video, because you saw Marcus Bontempelli in the thumbnail. Now you think I won't mention Bont and Collingwood in the same sentence. Well, I am, and I have, and this is why. Firstly, Marcus Bontempelli at the end of this year is an unrestricted free agent, as he has served the Bulldogs for longer than 10 years. Now, when you're in the 8 to 10-year bracket, you're a restricted free agent, especially if you are in the top 25% of your club's earnings, which Bont would be in top 0.001%. So there's that. So guess what? If we were to chase Bontempelli with uh, with what we've got, our draft hand, our picks, like, you have to understand, we don't need to give any of that away. We can get Marcus Bontempelli to the club without having giving up any picks. And now I'm getting a little bit nervous because I was a little bit concerned that maybe he had signed a contract recently, but he hasn't. So we stay on the path of this conversation. So we don't give up any picks, much like we did with Harry Perryman. Western Bulldogs, they'll get their compensation, and Collingwood could be laughing to the bank with this one. He turns 30 late this year, and 30 really is the new 27, 28. I mentioned this week that in 2014, the league had only 60 players over the age of 30. In 2024, we have over 120 players over the age of 30 playing footy, right? So the question that I want to propose is, who's to say Bont isn't wanting a fresh change? Does he want to be a captain of a footy club? Does he want a fresh start? Does he want new coach? Does he want new perspectives? Does he want to be around new players? Is he looking for a change? Does he want to come to a top four club or a big four Victorian club and get to experience what it's like to play in front of 100,000, well, sorry, not 100,000, but 80,000 week in, week out in front of the biggest army that the land has to offer? Does he want to play with the likes of Pendles, who can teach him, if he doesn't know already, how to extend his career for as long as possible? Does he want to play with the potential future GOAT of the league, Nick Daicos? And then what does he add? Well, what doesn't he add? He's an inside player. He's an outside player. He can play forward. He can do everything. Just imagine Bont and Nick Daicos as your 1-2 punch for the next 5 years. And the fact that Bont can play forward, why can't he play to 36, 37, 38 if he just sits forward and pinch hits in the midfield? I don't see why we wouldn't entertain the prospect of Bont coming if he's an unrestricted free agent. Clearly, he's got his contract talks on hold. I think there's something to read into this. I know it's very early. I know it's very early, but this is gonna come out sooner rather than later. I feel like clubs are gonna be chasing him heavy while he's currently uncontracted for next year. Let's check the comments. Need to My bad, champ. My bad, champ. This is free agency chat. Chris, how you going? Moving on. So we have the next one we have in conversation is Luke Davies-Uniacke, who is entering restricted free agency at the end of this year. North could very well fold with LDU on the trade table. Here's why. It's likely North won't match any other club because North will likely finish towards the bottom end of the ladder, right? So hypothetically, say Collingwood offer Luke Davies-Uniacke a contract. If North match that, it forces a trade negotiation between Collingwood and North Melbourne. North don't want that because Collingwood don't have, for example, don't have great picks to offer them compared to what they have. North, if they finish in the bottom 4, they'd rather not match the bid with LDU and get compensation and get a really good first round pick um, from the draft, being a bottom 4 side. You could argue LDU, you shop him around for 2 first round draft picks? Sure, but it's never the easiest thing. We all thought Bailey Smith was worth 2 first rounds. He goes to Geelong for a late first rounder. So depending on the context of the current timeline of that situation, you just don't know how much a player will go for. We know what they're worth, but just because that's what they're worth doesn't mean that's what they'll go for, based on where the player wants to go, which is important. I'm sure North would respect that. These are the things we need to consider. So, I it's another auspicious sort of scenario for Pies, for Collingwood, where we might not need to give up any picks, where North Melbourne will just be compensated, potentially. So he's put on contract talks or put on his contract talks on hold, wanting to see more from the Roos in 2025. But are you really going to see anything, expect anything more than 6 wins from North this year? Hey, be my guest, North. If you wanna win anywhere between 8 and 10 games, that would be amazing, but I I was a little bit disappointed with their preseason games. Hasn't been They lost against West Coast and lost against a very severely undermanned Melbourne. I know it's just the preseason. I know they've got new players that they're still trying to mold into the system, but while they're still trying to do that, there's a season that's gonna be commencing while they're trying to puzzle everything together. So, yeah, interesting, that one. LDU as a player is once again another, similar to Bont, is a great inside and out player. He was actually drafted with his aerial capacity listed as a great. We haven't seen that at North. We haven't seen that at North, but maybe that's something, if he is to wear black and white, maybe he has that flexibility to roll forward and spend some time there and work on his craft. We know Flying McRae loves his versatility in players, so maybe that's something LDU could work on if it was to come to Collingwood. It would give us great balance in the midfield, with potential to add another midfield with goal scoring potential. You look around across the league these days and you want goal scoring mids. You got Nick Dacos. The D's have Christian Petracca. Sydney have Chad Warner, Isaac Heaney, and Errol Goulden. That's the creme de la creme. You got, to a lesser extent, maybe Elio at GWS. At Brisbane, Lockie Neal, not really. But it's a real point of difference if you can have goal scoring mids, and LDU has that goal scoring potential. So it'll be interesting. That's the first 2 off the bat. So we've got Bontempelli, LDU, similar players. Quite obviously, Marcus Bontempelli is years above, but LDU does have some similarities in the diversity of his game and whatnot, comparing him to Bont. The next one we have is Matt Rowell, who has been speaking with clubs in the offseason. So whether you like it or not, Rowell has spoken with Collingwood in the off season. He's a non-free agent, so a trade would be necessary. He's an out and out wombat in the mid. He's your what does he do for Collingwood? He turns you from a bang average contested possession team into top 4 straight away. 60% of his possessions are contested, absolute beast. But there are other issues. But at the same time, while Collingwood had discussions with Matt Rowell, so did Geelong, so did the Western Bulldogs. Uh, so one the yes, he may be talking to multiple clubs, but it seems like he's talking to the Victorian clubs, which suggests he wants to move home. So as long as Collingwood are in Victoria, we're going to have a shot at all these players who want to come back home. The question is, can he develop an outside game? Speaking about Fly requiring versatility in his players, do we want a one-trick pony in a system where we depend on players with versatile skill sets? That's the question. So I'll probably rank these after this as well. I'm going to rank these in my preference. It's not going to be easy, but I'm going to rank these players as to who should be on our priority list. Okay. Next, Ben King. Gold Coast lose all of their top end talent to Victorian clubs, just in their DNA. He's a restricted free agent at the end of 2026. So not this year, but I would suggest that if Gold Coast were to move him, it might be best to discuss or start negotiating with clubs at the end of this season, so they have more trade power. If they leave it to late in the trade period next year, it could be a Geelong situation where the Bulldogs sort of just had to accept that late first round pick late in the trade period. That's what happens. He's had some strong years as a forward and can also swing back if needed. He was a great defender. He was, and admittedly, he's an even better forward. From Melbourne, he's away from his family. His twin brother, who basically they've spent every waking hour with each other growing up. Why wouldn't he want to move back to Melbourne? It would give us solace in the tall key department in that much needed age bracket. How old is he now? Let's find out. If I had to guess, he'd be about 20, he'd be 25 this year. He's 24. He turns 25 in July. So this is a player, as well as Matt Rowell, where we'd have to give up picks, but with access to picks in the future, 2 years in advance. So, for example, this year, clubs have access to their 2025 first round pick, 2026, 2027. So it's probably going to be a massive trade period where we're going to see for the first time a club willing to give up 3 first round picks. And straight away, I think about a team like St Kilda, but hopefully, people don't want to go to St Kilda because it's just not really a destination club, unfortunately. So, and the other thing is with unrestricted free agency or the free agents or just contracts in general, the financial side of things, with the collective bargaining agreement increasing year on year as we move forward, there's going to be room to have 2, 3 players on $1 million contracts, which is why you're seeing these massive numbers being thrown around. That's why we saw Harry Perriman at 800K coming to Collingwood. It's like a godsend now, but at the time people are like, "Oh, it's a lot of money," but also the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, is changing in real time. It is updating, it's adjusting, it's trending this way. The next one I have is a left field one. I think you guys will like this one. Ryan Maric and the West Coast Eagles comes to a club that would never allow what the Eagles have had, or let me say that again. Comes to a club that would never allow what Eagle fans have had to endure in the last 3 years. Ryan Maric is 6'5", he's 20 years old, and he's a non-free agent in 2026, which basically would indicate a trade would be to get him to another club. So, once again, similar to Ben King, Maric is out of contract at the end of next year. If West Coast were looking to trade someone like Ryan Maric, you'd wanna try and trade him this year. He's 6'5", and he's 20 years old, and he's from Gippsland. So he's a long way from home. He was taken in the mid-season draft. It may have been in 2023. I'll quickly just confirm that. Ryan Maric. Yeah, 2023, first in the mid-season draft from Druin. He had a great he had an okay season last year, but what we're hearing from Western Australia is Maric is being tried down back, and he's tall. He's nearly 6'6", and has a lot of potential to be that player. I think he may have even played defense at given times last season. So with the reason why I bring this man up is because with Tom Barras no longer at West Coast, I think we're gonna get a really good healthy serving of Rich in defense, and I think the club needs to keep a close eye on this man. He'll be 21 this year in September. He'll be 22 next year. These are the types of players in that age bracket that just keep Collingwood a little bit younger and give us something to look forward to. A ready-made player that can take us into the future. Um, no brass. We'll see more of Maric in that position. So as a secondary interest, Collingwood aren't playing on Ryan Maric. I think he could really add to the diversity in our backline, and I'm sure Darcy Moore would welcome this man with open hands if he does perform. He's gotten good raps in the pre-season so far. A lot of reports suggesting he's doing well to match him. He's under the tutelage of Shannon Hearn there. So that's old mate Ryan Maric to catch up to these comments. Hitting Bont is like handing the Pies a flag. Fingers crossed. Hey, Anthony, as much as what you say is possible at the end of the day, Bont would want to be a one club player. He's their greatest player, and he wouldn't want to tarnish that. Are there players who have gone to other clubs who were probably considered one club would be considered one club players? Luke Hodge, Sam Mitchell, Lance Franklin? It's possible. What have you thought Dale Thomas and Heath Shaw would have gone to other clubs in the league? Anything's possible. I don't think I think if there's an enticing offer on the table to move to a big club like Collingwood, I think it'd be naive for him not to consider it. Is there any validity to this? I haven't heard this anywhere about the Bont. So we're just hypothesizing, and it makes sense to talk about this, and these conversations will develop over the course of the year with Bont. He's an unrestricted free agent. He hasn't signed his contract at the Dogs. So I feel like this is something that will definitely be spoken about more. Maybe I'm little bit ahead of the curve. Andreas, Track, LDU, and Rowell are the only 3 I think. Bont, we 100% will go for, but I doubt he will move. Imagine if he does. Imagine if he does. We'll also have a salary cap issue. I believe we brought on Perryman for 900 per year. Who knows what we brought Houston for? Like I said, with the CBA, collective bargaining agreement, it's going up each year. So you can have 2 to 3 million. We're going to have $2 to $3 million players on each list as the years go by within the next 5 years. Sup, Anthony? What about Zach Butters? Something Craig McRae said on Brownlow Medal Night. I'm not too sure about Zachy Butters. He's probably too similar or a similar build to Nick Dacos. I don't know. He's a great player, but I haven't thought too much about it. Hope so. Unless there are a bunch of retirements in this year, we'd have to be tapping out soon. We'll have minimum 2 retirements at the end of this season. Cox and Howell, there's well over 1 million a season there alone. There you go. By the way, I hope Jeremy Howe doesn't retire. Really, I really, I really think we need him still as well, while Reece McInnes is still developing. That's why we probably do need to go to the trade table or unrestricted or delisted free agency and find a defender. Ryan Maric is probably the best thing I could see when looking at all the contracts throughout this year and next year. It's slim pickings. Brass and Battle have gone to Hawthorn. You have Mark Keane who's signed on at Adelaide. So from there, it's like, well, who else can you look at? Rory Lobb's contract ends next year, but he's not one for the future. So I'd probably steer clear of that one. If we win the flag, you would think of yeah, that's a good point, Stephen. I think if we do win the flag, there's every chance, maybe not Pendlebury to that record he wants to break, but you're probably looking at Sidebottom retiring. Who knows? Like, you got Jeremy Howe, you've got Mason Cox, you've got Oscar Elliott, you've got Tom Mitchell, you've got Jamie Elliott in there. You've got I'll give you one more, Jack Crisp in there. Like, what more do you want to achieve if you've won 2 flags in the space of 3, 4 years at the back end of your career? Wouldn't you wanna just sail off into the sunset? But at the same time, these guys, they just love playing footy as well. So if they think they can go another year or 2 beyond winning another flag, and it's something that keeps them going every day for the meanwhile, then why not? If we win the flag, we will see 4 finish up Cox, Howe, Elliott, Sidebottom. Chris, how you going? Woody, go to the start of the video. I speak about Bont straight away. We're just hypothesizing and considering, I guess, permutations around Bont and other players. As I've mentioned 4 other players, but Bont in particular is unrestricted free agent. So I'm just planting this seed nice and early, and just just provoking some thoughts because an unrestricted free agent who hasn't signed on yet, nursing a 6-week calf injury at a club that has a lot of pressure on him at the moment, maybe some cultural issues or some division within against between players right now, worth the mention. So, looking at the 5 players I mentioned, we mentioned Marcus Bontempelli, LDU, Matt Rowell, Ben King, Ryan Maric. If I had to rank them in order of priority, you'd probably be looking at, like, a Ben King as number 1, just because of, 1, he's an out and out forward and can play defense, fits the mold of Fly McRae's want versatile players, can play forward, can play back, young, in a great age bracket, 25 years old, hasn't entered his prime yet. I'd say he's number 1. I'd say number 2 would be LDU, and then I got Bont in 3. I mean, Bont can also be number 1, but I've just got him at 3, uh, as far as, like, realistic and also priority, but he would be number 1 if it was just down to genuine talent. And then number 4, I've got I I just don't know if Matt Rowell's the right player for Collingwood. So that for that reason, and this one I'll put an asterisk next to this one, Ryan Maric would be my 4th on my list. Asterisk because we still need to see what kind of game he has as a defender at West Coast. I think that will be an interesting watch. And I got Matt Rowell at 5. If Matt Rowell came to Collingwood, of course I'd be happy. I'd be stoked. He's a gun. But I just think he's a one-trick pony, and I don't know if he fits the mold of Collingwood as well as Ben King, as well as LDU, as well as Bont. What are your thoughts? Phew. Question, would Bont go down as the GOAT if he went to St Kilda and managed to get them their 2nd flag too? I just mentioned, St Kilda as well with their war chest of cash as well. They can mate, if they're offering fucking Finn Callahan 12 mil, and obviously it might be heavily back-ended or front-ended one way or the other. Imagine what they could offer Bont. He would probably would he go down as the GOAT? Mm, not quite, not quite. He'd be top 5, top 5. What do you think? Yeah, I was thinking about bringing Christian Petracca into this conversation, but between him, LDU, and Bont and Rowell, I probably want all those players before Petracca at this point. But once again, I'm sure Christian Petracca is gonna come up in conversations with the Pies this year. I think things are a little bit quiet at the moment. Once we get closer to the trade period, once if Melbourne aren't performing well, that will spark conversations. That's when mainstream media will start fucking rolling these stories out and spinning the Melbourne fans against the club, and that will be turmoil. So that's something we're definitely gonna you'll hear Christian Petracca's name many times. I just wanted to give us different ideas, different looks, maybe names you haven't heard of. And I'd like to think that and I know these players I've mentioned, there's rationale behind it. Like Bont, unrestricted free agent. He's been at the club for 12 years. Does he want something different? Does he want to play for a big club like Collingwood, the biggest club in the land? LDU, restricted free agent, put his talks on hold with North. Matt Rowell has spoken with Collingwood in the off-season. Ben King is from Melbourne. Coast always lose their top end talent. Does he want to move back home and be closer to his brother? Ryan Maric, a non-free agent at the end of next year from Gippsland. These are the reasons why I put these players in front of you guys. G'day from not so sunny Southeast Queensland. I hope you're safe, mate. Tim, how's it going? I agree. Three players will need to retire: Sidey, Hosking, Cox, and Powell, and maybe Titch. Pretty sure CP5 will end up at the Pies. Hey, I'm not complaining if he does. All in all, you take Bont regardless of the cost. The Pies need to target a gun centre half back, restricted or contracted. We're going to go for a big defender. This isn't discounting going, yeah. So, Andreas, you're still in the chat. Who is that player? Because I'm looking at players out of contract this year and next year, and I can't seem to find one premium defender out of contract in the next 2 years. We could look at players who are out of contract at the end of 2027. I'm pretty sure Houston still had 3 years on his contract, and we managed to snare him. So we could certainly look at players 3 years away, but it becomes increasingly unlikely that these guys still 3 years to play in their contract are gonna go anywhere. Depending on his season this year with track, yeah, and that's just what I mentioned. If Melbourne as a whole don't perform and there's more drama and there's more cultural issues within the 4 walls at that club, expect him to be at Collingwood one way or another. How much is he worth? I think I think we could get away with 2 first-round draft picks. St Kilda could probably offer 3 first-round draft picks. I don't know if they'd be willing to ship away that many though. Which is interesting. Rowell would take an upgrade on Titch. Rowell would be an upgrade on Titch. Oh, 100%, 100%. But even with Titch, like, great player, but, uh, he still has a better outside game than Rowell, and Titch in his prime was yes, he was a contested beast, but man, that guy could find the footy anywhere on the field, Tom Mitchell. You think Petrarca is the best option? Yeah, like I said, I more or less, I didn't include him in this conversation simply because I he's already been spoken about to great lengths, and it seems like it's sort of on the back burner at the moment. I think Track is really trying to put his head down at the D's and find a way to amend all these broken relationships, if you wanna call it that. But like I said, he's gonna be someone who's gonna come up in conversation as the year goes on. Matt Rowell came to the Pies and he's almost certain that JDG will go back up forward. Ooh, if Matt Rowell came to the Pies, but the thing is, what Jordy De Goey offers in the centre is different to what Matt Rowell offers. Yes, they're both good in the contest. With Jordan De Goey, you get someone running out of the front of that stoppage and getting a quality kick going inside 50. With Matt Rowell, you get the hands out to a Nick Dacos. Matt Rowell, you get a quick boot to ball. They're 2 different players that offer different qualities in the mid. But this year will be a big indicator with Jordan De Goey as to where we think he should play for the remainder of his career. If he can't get his body right again this year, how can we find Jordan De Goey residing in the forward line for at least 50% of every game? That's what I'd be considering if we can't get him right in midfield. So that's where that conversation comes from. Rao is exactly what we need, you say Luke, but he doesn't fit the mold of Fly McRae's wishes to have players who are versatile, can play many different roles. He has no outside game, but yes, he's very good at what he does. Saints and Doggies fans would push the great narrative if he did for sure. Ed Richards is a good one. That's someone I thought about. I do wanna see a little bit more from him this year, but he seems like a great talent, and he's probably someone who's just about to enter his prime. How old is Ed Richards? Is he too similar to, like, a Nick Dacos? Or he's probably a little bit taller, 188, he's 6 foot, he's 25, going 26 in July. Yeah, he's someone as well. Where's he from? He's from Carey. From Carey. He's 25. What do you have? 21 touches a game. He's a really good ball user as well, can win a centre clearance. He's had a few concussions, hasn't he, as well? He was taken at pick 16 in the 2017 draft. Um, had a really good year last year, so something to keep an eye on. I think he's out of contract next year. Matt Rowell probably going to the Dogs, you reckon? What makes you say that? I know they had chats with him, though. You would like LDU, Bont, or Rowell, Petracca, Collingwood next year, go Pies. Love that. I only see LDU or Track coming next year. Fair? Fair enough. Yeah, Steven, so this is something I couldn't get a handle on when I was looking at the contracts for this year and next year. There's not a lot to offer. Players that are out of contract this year and next year, there's not a great deal of key defenders anywhere that are out of contract in the next few years. We had Mark Keane, we had Josh Battle, we had Tom Barrass, we had Petty as options, but all these players have extended their contracts. Lee Colliers is also someone I looked at. He's more of a medium-sized defender. I don't know if we need medium-sized defenders. We got Buzzy, we got Q, even Isaac Dan Houston can fall into that category to a certain extent. You got Jacob Ryan, you got Will Parker, you got TJ. Leak is a bit spotty in his form. Not someone who uh, has shown consistency. Had that amazing game. I think it was against Geelong early last year. He entered pop star mode for a few days. He was in vogue. But since then, he struggled to make the squad. Was he listed? I know he was on the extended bench. Was he listed against us? Has he been named? Let's find out. No, he's an emergency, so he's not even getting games. There was another medium-sized forward for GWS who Collingwood could consider, depending how Elliott goes this year if he decides to retire. I think Callum Brown could be something to watch. You prefer LDU? Schultz is one-dimensional. There it is. See how he goes this year. Is jury's still out. Look, his kicking going inside 50 needs some work, but he's got good tackling pressure. He can be a good mark overhead, and he kicked 24 goals last year, so hopefully he can build on that. Ramish, how you going? We have a good history of recycling those B minus B plus players. Do you think chasing two of those rather than out and out A grade? Potentially, we did that in 23, didn't we? We got Mitchell, Frampton, and Bobby Hill, who at the time were all probably B minus B plus, and they all, Bobby Hill turned into A plus. Tom Mitchell turned into an A for that year. Billy Frampton came from being F grade to C grade, and sometimes even better in certain games in that year. I mentioned Ryan Maric earlier, Ramish. If you want to look at that, I mentioned Ryan Maric from West Coast Eagles. He's someone who could be a key defender for us in the next few years. He's being trialed down there in 2025. No Barras there, so you'll get a lot of work in the back line, and we'll find out quite quickly whether Maric will be up to it in the back line. 6'5", 20 years old, out of contract next year. He's from Gippsland, a really exciting prospect there. But outside of that, I mean, you've got Ed Richards, who's probably not in the elite category. Maybe he is. Some people will say he's on the precipice of it. So there's probably someone there you can look at. You'd be going for a Noah Answorth from Brisbane. Was really handy in the grand final in 2024, and you'd also be targeting a Luke Ryan. The Melbourne boy would be perfect for us. Mhm. Look, Luke Ryan he plays taller than what he is, but he's more used for his exponent of how he uses the footy. You've already got Josh Akers, you've already got Dan Houston, you've got Jeremy Howe who does that to a certain extent. I mean, how old's Luke Ryan as well? He'd be like 31, 32, wouldn't he? I understand he's a Melbourne boy, but he's not a key defender. I wouldn't be putting my eggs in there. He's 29. Okay. He's 186 though. He's just not someone I'd be putting a lot of energy into. Noah Answorth though, so I've heard that name. How tall is he? 182. Like, I just think we're sound in the medium-sized department though, Andreas. I don't think we need medium-sized players. We've got great depth in that department on both ends of the field. Bobby, Billy, Bo, Lockie, Isaac Quaynor, Josh Stacos, Dan Houston, Jacob Ryan, Will Parker, TJ. Should I keep going? I just don't think it's worth our time. Yeah. Is that Lou Richards, isn't it, Deez? Yep. Hey, there you go. If if you ever had if you don't have any interest in watching West Coast, now you do. Ooh, good one. Brennan Cox. Let's have a look. That's a good shout. Harrison Petty, Luke, I believe Harrison Petty signed on with Melbourne. I think he extended his contract, so that's why that's not a conversation anymore. So, yes, hey, maybe I missed him. No. Fremantle. I'm just gonna search up Brennan Cox contract because he's 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 re-signed for 6 years, and he's there to at least 2030. So, you can close that chapter there, then and there, before it's even started. If they can play taller, you take them because there's literally no available key tall defenders unless we go and pull a sneaky play. Heck, if we're talking about Noah Answorth and, who was the other one? Noah Answorth, completely blanked. Hold on. Noah Answorth and Luke Ryan. We may as well be going for Rory Lobb. I'd rather we go Rory Lobb, honestly. Liam Jones or Harris Andrews. Yeah, that's it. Short-lived for sure. Short-lived. Guys, we're nearly 24 hours out from the bloody game. Pre-game show is gonna be at 1:30. We'll go for an hour, and then I'll watch the game, and then I will be back for the post-game show. I had some I had some KFC yesterday for like, I had my first bad takeaway in, like, 5 months, and my stomach is cooked today. I'm struggling. So maybe it's a friendly reminder, but I got excited. It was the first game of footy for the year. It was a good game. Good game. Man, Hawthorn impressed me very much so. Yeah, Nick Haynes was in conversation, Ramish. Lewis Young was conversation as well from Carlton. He still hasn't extended his contract. I think he's got a contract this year or next year, Lewis Young from Carlton. So, yeah, we'll see JDG next week, Andreas, hopefully. Stephen, I have absolute zero faith that Billy Frampton will step up on a consistent basis. I've just like you, I have more faith in him. Oh, no. You have more faith in him than McInnes. I probably have more faith in McInnes than Billy Frampton, purely on the basis that we don't know what McInnes's potential ceiling is compared to whereas we know what Frampton's ceiling is. We've seen that. Adam Tomlinson, he he he's delisted. He's playing local footy probably doing some modelling work. Brody Kemp is one to look out for. I don't know. Wouldn't be breaking the bank for him. Wouldn't be breaking my back for him either. Player though, good swing player. I just don't think he just seems to be a role player. I think we need something a little bit more than a role player. We need a player to take us into the future in the back line. We need to invent a key back like we did with Rufford. He was discarded, Ruck, who we turned into a number one lockdown defender. I feel like outside of Reece McInnes, though, we really don't have a player to reinvent into a defender. Honestly, here's a theory, Mason Cox centre half back and go, "Oh, mate, he'd be." Problem is, right, he's not as mobile as, say, as a Rory Lobb, and he's a little bit taller than Rory Lobb. I think we'd get killed in the ground ball game in the back line. Not we wouldn't last. It's hard enough to watch Mason Cox at ground ball forward line, let alone in the back line. That would kill me. Goodness gracious. Hawthorn teams like Hawthorn and Sydney would have a field day. You're trying to yeah, yeah. Consider this the gettable show today. But this will be what I'm gonna do is I said at the start of the show, I'm gonna do Ripping the Magnets, the Pies Footy Show, pre-game, post-game, as well as the Pies Presser. So this is the Pies Presser. So pretty much I'm just gonna report on most news and extend some conversations. No Frampton, give McInnes a chance to prove himself. Is Darcy Gardner someone to look at? Oh, a bit of a klutz, a bit clumsy. I think he's recovering from his ACL, isn't he? Wiedering? Don't you dare. Don't you dare pronounce. Yeah, but overhead Cox can play a role and lock down a tool forward in the air. Maybe. Probably not, man. I can't get around that. Oh, we gotta think of something because there's not much. What are you doing, Andreas, right now? You having a fucking cigar outside? You kitchen it out today or what? Not wishing injury, but if someone goes on long-term injury list, spot open. I'm sure Tomlinson will be keeping his ears out for a mid-season position at a club in Victoria, 100%. A little bit off topic. No, no, never off topic here, mate. Is anyone else worried about tomorrow's game? If we drop it against the depleted Giants, we'll be laughing stock. Look, to be fair, we don't have the goal. We don't have the goal. We don't have Dan Houston. We've got players missing as well. I just feel like it's a level playing ground, to be honest. If we lose, it wouldn't be ideal. You wanna bank games early in the season. Tomlinson's is a witch's hat. I honestly think your take on Check is as good as any. Yeah, well, call him the trump card this year. if things don't work out in the back line. That's what I think he is. Anyhow, ladies and gents, 45 minutes of goodness. That was good. I really enjoyed that. Before you leave, let me know in the comment section if you enjoy these pies presses. I'm gonna do this pretty much every day. On the weekdays, it'll probably be like 4:30. On the weekends, you're looking at 10 AM. Um, I'm really enjoying jumping on these live streams and having these conversations with all of you. So, to talk about news and extend conversation and let it go wherever it wants to go with you guys. So, I do appreciate you guys all. And I will see you in just a little over 24 hours for the pregame show. Go Pies.